Coming live every Tuesday at 7 with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. And the voice of NEW, Vince Berry. Hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT? Handing out smackdowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by Tag Me a Date. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space. Now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats. Hit row. Hit row, hit row. Hit row. And if you didn't know now, hit row, hit row. We gon' get those, get those.
This is Is this the first time we've played them on this show?
Vince, I can't hear you at all.
You can't hear me at all, huh?
I can hear him.
Hold on. You know what? I think it might be me. Hang on one second.
You hear me?
Yes. Hold on. I can hear you. I can hear you all now.
This is the
So
first
you
time
made me do all that and it was you?
To be fair, I said I wonder if it's me. To be fair, so that was a little hit row action.
Yeah,
I figure I'm excited. Listen, we have so much to fucking cover in such a short amount of time. So welcome everyone to the War Report. We got to jump right in because we got to talk about Crown Jewel. We got to talk about the season premiere of SmackDown. We got to talk about the season premiere of Raw. If we can get to it, we could touch on some AEW. But to me, this is the week of WWE for a lot of things. And we got to start off. We gotta start it off with the Crown Jewel. And I said from the beginning that this was the first time I was really amped and excited about a Crown Jewel pay-per-view. Tyra, what's up? Welcome to the show as always. So I had very high expectations going in, which a lot of times you would think to a fault, right? Because you don't ever want to go into a WWE pay-per-view with high expectations, especially a Saudi show. But I have to say, they hit it on all fucking cylinders. I mean, in my opinion, from the booking to most of the finishes to the presentation. I mean, the Saudi show is a beautiful show to watch. The Pyro's WrestleMania caliber. Yeah. They do crazy cool shit. Let's break it down. But what do you guys think overall before we kind of like chopping it down? But overall, by far the best Crown Jewel paper we've had in a long time. Dare I say, best WWE pay-per-view we have had in quite some time.
Of the year, which is
of
weird
the year so far, yeah.
All right. Yeah, well, yeah. We could even go that
the
far.
Show. Yeah, I think it's definitely the show of 2021 for WWE. Probably better than anything they did in 2020, especially because most of their shows were lockdowns.
Oh my God.
Like Thunderdome episodes. So I mean, those barely count. Yeah, this was, and it's so weird to think.
Tara, hold on. Tara, do you not have the network?
If she's been having some issues with her internet, so I was actually giving her the matches as the show went on.
Oh, that sucks. I mean, listen, by now you might even be able to catch this shit on well, you would still need internet. You gotta, you will have an opportunity when your internet gets back in line. Definitely go. It's worth watching the show. I mean, this is a show that even if you don't have Peacock Network right now or WWE Peacock Network, whatever the fuck we're calling it now, if you don't have it, it's worth getting it now just to get that pay-per-view. And then if you want to turn it off, turn it off. Pay the $10. It's worth more than $10. That show was money.
Like, if you want the one with commercials, it's only $5. So, I mean,
well, yeah. And it's like one commercial and then back to the show. It's not
one commercial like every hour or every 90 minutes or something. It's nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's literally, it's when they pan the crowd for stuff. That's when they air the commercial. You don't miss anything.
But holy shit, man.
Usually these Saudi shows are garbage. They usually book a show that's specifically for like, okay, we know the Saudi fans kind of like the old stuff, the old timers, this, that, and the other thing. This time, they went with a different philosophy. They still had Goldberg, and they still, you still had some greatest hits in there, but they went with younger talent and new talent. And I think that was what paid off, because the crowd, here's the thing. Yes, I understand there's the perception, oh, they're foreign, so they're not up on the current WWE stuff. Like, I have a newsflash for you fucking people. The internet exists. They know what's going on WWE. The whole reason the Saudi government put on these shows and has this contract with WWE is because in that region, pro wrestling is very popular, and you get hundreds of millions of social media views and comments and everything else from that part of the world. So now that they've kind of given them here's your Hulk Hogan's, here's your Goldbergs and Undertakers, they're going, okay, now that you've seen all the classic guys, this is our main roster. Like, this is what these guys can do. And what a strange philosophy. Just put your best talent out there and tell them to go have good matches.
Who would have thought?
Well, you know what? I mean, listen, a lot of the things that we complain about, a lot of the things that we complain about on a regular basis, we really can't tackle in this particular show. The finishes were correct in terms of the outcomes, whether or not we agree with how we got there and some of them. Right. But even that, I mean, listen, I'm gonna touch on this one right off the bat, because I know it's a tough one for you two especially. So I wanna get this one out of the way too. But I mean, I have to say, and I want to hear it from both of you. You got to give credit where credit is due. Goldberg put on one hell of a fucking match. Nobody got hurt. The match went.
That's the first one. Nobody got hurt. No concussions.
Listen,
let's check that off the list. Everyone's alive.
Hey, listen, what do we always say in the wrestling business? A perfect match is a match where nobody gets hurt, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, listen, I'd rather have Bobby Lashley not get dropped on his head.
The spots that needed to be hit got hit, and it delivered. Bobby Lashley did his thing. Goldberg, I give him a lot of credit for his age. He came out there. He sure as fuck made up for the last Saudi show that he did.
He definitely did.
Absolutely.
He got his jackhammer in. He got multiple spears in. He speared Bobby off the stage, which usually looks kind of cheesy, but it looked great. They did a great job. Kudos to fucking Goldberg. And you know what made it even better? There wasn't a title on the line, because like we've always said with Goldberg, the title doesn't need to be on the line. Goldberg in himself is an attraction. You don't need the belt involved. So well done. It ended the story. We hope. But even if it didn't, that match delivered, because I know, like, Kat, you have no love for Goldberg, and I get it, but you have to say,
give credit where credit is due. It was a solid match for what he can do. And the fact that nobody got hurt, I'm 100% behind the fact that I will give credit where it's due that he put out a good match.
You know what else, too? And I want to point this out, because a lot of people that criticize Goldberg, and this is not even now, this is throughout his entire career, that he wasn't a great seller. Like he wasn't great at selling or putting guys over in that way. He sold the shit out of Bobby Lashley, whipping his ass for the first 10 minutes of the match. And he did a great job doing it. And he sold it. Like, it's just all around. I was super pumped. I was very happy with that one. So
not going to disagree with that.
There you go.
No, and I know, Steve, the thing that you said about Goldberg making up for the performance against The Undertaker, I feel like that had to be in his head. He had to.
How could it not be?
Right, going into it saying, "Hey, the last time you went to Saudi Arabia, you shit the bed, man. You gotta step up this time." So, whatever kind of little pep talk he gave himself, and whether or not he had to prove or something,
he had to prove to himself, his son, and the world that he's still Bill Goldberg. You know what I mean? That he's still Goldberg, and that the fans still want to see him. And at the end of the day, it seems like there are more people that still get excited and want to see Goldberg than the people that don't. So,
but I think even some of those people who aren't excited to see Goldberg are usually not excited because he's in a world title match.
Exactly.
Right. And we said that multiple times.
Yep.
100%.
So now that they've found this spot for him, that he's an attraction and he doesn't have to, even though recently he challenged Drew, which was kind of the last straw for that. That's when I think people were over it. Like, They didn't like Goldberg challenge for titles anymore. Now, if they've completely gone from Goldberg will be the universal title challenger every couple months to Goldberg is going to be a special attraction, fantastic. Why didn't we do this 20 years ago?
I think too. I think people that were all about Goldberg and then kind of shifted away from Goldberg. For me, I think it was around the Fiend Goldberg situation because that just pissed everybody off. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's when things started to go kind of shitty.
See, maybe it's me. I've never been even WCW days. Like, okay, great, Goldberg, big guy, can do a jackhammer, do whatever. He was never the big jump out guy for me. So that might be part of my reasoning too. But I will, like I said, I'll give the credit. He put out a great match.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I like that. I'm the opposite. Like when Goldberg hit the scene and he first came out and he just was dominating in 30 seconds. You know what I mean? Like he was just such a big guy, and the smoke and the inhaling it and the breathing it out and the pyro, and it all worked. And then the streak, for however long it went, it just, for me, I was just always pumped to see Goldberg. And, and then even shit like the screw job with the NWO where Goldberg got tased and that's how he lost. And to me, it all worked. So I was always big on Goldberg, and, even now, I'm a fan of Goldberg, but I have said many times over, he doesn't need to be going for a title.
And it opens him up because the title thing right now, the way they're going, they only have a handful of guys that are holding this world title. So to have Goldberg just constantly match up with the same kind of couple guys, doesn't do us so much for me. But to have him opened up to being an attraction, as we're saying, he can face guys who aren't title contenders who would be a good. You remember when he did that thing with Dolph Ziggler and he just kept kicking the shit out of him, and then Dolph Ziggler would get back up and Goldberg would kick the shit out of him, and every time Dolph Ziggler got up, the fans groaned. They're like, "Oh no, stay down!" And then Goldberg would hit him with something. The fans would go, "Yeah!" I love that shit.
Yeah.
So we can
Goldberg,
do more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we all agree that match delivered. Now, I was very surprised. And not that it's a bad thing, but I was very surprised that the pay-per-view started with Hell in the Cell.
Oh yeah.
So very surprised, and I have to say that was one of the best Hell in the Cell matches we've had in years. They did shit that was different. They told a great story. I mean, that was storytelling at its finest.
Match of the night, in my opinion.
And it's because of the two men that were in the ring.
And the referee.
Well, of course,
right? Yeah,
but,
Edge thank you as well.
Of course, but those two it was just fantastic. The spots were great. The match was great. What a great way to set the bar for that pay-per-view, and knowing that everyone else after you has to do at least as good as that, or they're going to be shit in the bed. And they all did. They all pulled out their stops in one way or another. But that Hell in the Cell match, the everything to the very finish, was just awesome.
I think that was probably why they did that, to get that momentum that everyone else has to perform like that.
Oh, I agree. And I think that's a great move because, when you're put to that pressure, you got to deliver, know?
Oh, and I think, of course, those guys delivered a great match, but also speaking to the timing of when you put matches on, Hell in a Cell match, you really don't want to do in the middle of a show. And if your world title is going to be your main event with Brock Lesnar, the only real good spot for it is to open up. Seth Rollins showed, especially at that WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar, where he opened the show. He can go out there and do the kind of opening match stuff that gets people excited, which is a skill. Not some people can't have an opening match. They just there are people who are specialized in opening matches for TV and for pay-per-views and stuff. You'll always hear, oh yeah, you could put that guy in an opening match to get the crowd excited. Seth Rollins has that quality about him. Edge coming back off this injury is, I mean, holy shit. Imagine if we had 7 extra years of this Edge.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's amazing that he was able to overcome such a tremendous injury. Come
and
back.
Some of the spots he did in that Hell in the Cell. I mean,
you sit there and it's the same thing watching Brian Danielson wrestle.
Takes your breath away sometimes.
Yeah, you cringe.
Yeah.
You get scared.
Right, because you know what they had to go through to be able to get to this place, and it's like one wrong move, one wrong second, in a snap of your finger, it could be the last time we see him. But God bless, man, they pulled out a hell of a match, and they took care of each other.
And ladders and
it's a good pairing, those two.
Yeah, it is because I don't know, Seth Rollins, the character.
Sucks, but he can wrestle.
Right.
Exactly.
He does nothing for me, but when he wrestles, it's great. You know, and I appreciate that he can put on those kinds of performances and having it close out with the not trope, not meme, but you know what I mean, of the using your move against you. You know, that's how you lose. You have the fate twisted against you and somebody uses your own finisher. Like, that's a nice little finish to come up with. So, yeah, it's a good
It worked. It was a great match.
It's a good last thing I'll say about this real quick is I was listening to Bert Kreischer talk one time, and he said that he was doing some research, and for his first Netflix special, he realized that most people, when they watch Netflix, watch something for 10 minutes, and then after 10 minutes, they decide whether or not they're going to keep watching. So he took what was his closing joke, and usually if you're a stand-up comic, you do your closer's a big bit and a big part of your act that you're working for a long time, and like you perfect a good closer so you send people home happy. Sure. He took that bit. He moved it to the front of his Netflix special.
Smart.
Because he wanted to attract their people in the
that
first
10-minute frame.
And I feel like that's a thing now. That's the people don't start off watching a TV show going, okay, I'm going to see how this builds. Maybe they're telling a story through the show. They want to see something to engage them at the beginning of the show. Otherwise, they're going to move on. There's another app. There's another channel. There's, YouTube and everything else. So,
but what was perfect about those two is that the story has been being told for so long that, you know what I'm saying? It didn't have to, like this was it. Like this was the ending. This was the last chapter. This was this was the go home. This was it, and it was so well done.
The show's on at a weird time. It's on noon on a Thursday if you're in certain parts of the U.S., or it's in like late afternoon or early morning, wherever you are in the world. They want to hook you in. So they didn't just start off with like, a singles match or whatever. They started off, you get the pyro, you get the great, as you said, WrestleMania level pyro, this cool screen, the cool setup that they do in Saudi Arabia. And then you go right into a Hell in a Cell match. If you're on the fence about whether or not you were going to watch this pay-per-view all the way through, that gotcha. That was what kept that TV on.
Absolutely.
What was I don't even remember the order because it happened last week. What was the order of the matches? Like, what was after the Hell? I'm gonna have to go to Wikipedia.
It wasn't Matt Riddle and was it Matt Riddle and RK? Was it RK Bro?
That was a pretty good.
Well, we don't necessarily have to go in order. We don't have to go in order. However,
let's talk about that then.
Well, I was going to say, since you fucking went there, so who better than Matt Riddle, right? Like the whole dynamic of it was great because Orton's cell was great with the whole like, oh my God, what the fuck? You just left me high and dry kind of deal. And then his face when he comes out rocking on the camel. That was just the greatest. There was a great meme shortly after, and it was Rusev on top, and it said, I rode a tank down the ramp at WrestleMania, and then it was a picture of Riddle on the camel, and it just said, hold my blunt. But it was just such a great entrance to see Riddle bopping on the top of the camel and Orton side, next to the camel with his face like, what the fuck? But in a cool, and what a match. Great match. Great match, great finish. And it ended with the results that I expected. If we had done a pick 'em, I don't think I would have gotten one wrong. I don't know why we didn't do one, but
I don't know. I mean,
Last minute, we forgot.
I was going to say,
you can see clips of Riddle riding the camel on YouTube for sure. I've seen it.
Definitely. So the match we skipped in between Edge and Seth Rollins and RK Bro and Styles and Omos was, it was Mansoor against Mustafa Ali. So,
a match, let me tell you, a match going into that I didn't give a flying fuck about.
Yeah.
I did not care, and it was a great match. Yep. One thing you got to say what you want about the Saudis and whatever else, and it's not our place to get political or go into anything, but one thing that I did love, and it's beyond Mansoor, although the ovation he got, as he should, because he was the hometown boy, was great, but that crowd is electric from the minute it starts to the minute it ends. They don't stop. They don't get tired. They don't slow down. It is nonstop screaming and yelling and chanting. And it blows my mind, some of the things that they're chanting. And you're just like, wow, they're really paying attention every week like everyone else. Like, it's just, and so that was great. But that match, those two, similar styles. So they know each other really well. It's just like a dance in the ring, and it was just very well done. The finish was great. I was happy to see Mansoor go over in his hometown because typically he does not. Yeah. And then the appearance of this guy at the end, who I'm sorry, I don't know much about, but he's pretty badass looking, and he kicked the shit out of Ali for attacking Mansoor.
Tariq Hamdi. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was a silver medalist in karate for Saudi Arabia in the Summer Olympics.
Correct.
So, and I believe...
Is he himself a Saudi?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why he got the pop that he did.
Right. I think he was the only Saudi athlete to get a medal at this year's Olympics.
Correct.
So literally...
That's pretty cool.
Everybody in the country knows who this fucking guy is.
Except for me.
No, I mean,
he's their Hulk Hogan.
Right. He's like their Kurt Angle kind of, where they know
there you go.
He won a gold medal. Or silver medal in this case. But like, I loved that.
Freaking neck.
We didn't know him. I didn't know who the guy was, but he took the mask off, or his face covering off. Everybody in that stadium, as soon as they saw him, knew who it was. He did the kick. It was a nice karate kick. Ali sold it like death. It's a nice, that's, if you're a person who's in, if you're a Saudi native person and you see,
it's a nice moment.
It's a nice moment. It's a nice, to have the hometown kid come out and not only win, and then you got a silver medalist out there too, representing your nation in the Olympics. It's a big deal. So
that's like their CM Punk in Chicago.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
The ovation they gave this guy. If you're the only guy in the whole country that has an Olympic medal, pretty, you could probably walk in anywhere and people know who you are.
Yeah, that's true.
So that was cool. That was
all right. One. So what else did we have after that?
We did RK Bro. So next was Dewdrop Zelina Vega.
Yes, Queen.
All right. So another match that I thought was actually much better than I expected. And as far as I'm concerned, going back to what we talked about last week, Vince, they did the right thing. And I am happy that they gave it to Zelina. As good as Dewdrop is, and I happen to be a fan, Zelina deserved it more because Zelina's been there longer and she's been through a lot, over the last, getting released, coming back, the whole thing. And it's also to be noted that apparently Vince approached her backstage afterwards and said these words, quoted from Zelina. And she said, he came up to her and said, you came into this company as a queen and now you are one. Go run your kingdom kind of thing. So, when you get kudos like that from Vince, that's him saying, I fucked up. I'm sorry for releasing you.
Great.
Go to town. So I'm very happy for her, but I think it came across very well. I was happy to see it. And since we're talking about that, they also did another thing, Vince. Correct. Cat, correct. And as we said it, and we were very afraid that because it's the right thing, they weren't going to. But all hail King Woods. I'm so fucking happy for him, man.
That was I just, well,
I will admit this freely. I cried.
I don't think you're alone. There's a lot of people I think that did.
I literally was crying because it was so overdue, especially with his backstory of how obsessed he was with King of the Ring when he was a kid.
Well, and remember, he's the reason they brought it back. He's been petitioning for this for years.
Yep.
Since Neville was King of the Ring. That was like the Neville and Corbin were the last two Kings of the Ring.
But he was like the whole backstage interview. He goes, "I've wanted this since Don Morocco." It was like, so like it made you get nostalgic for the first time in God knows how long about there being a king. And I don't give a shit about King Corbin when he was King of the Ring. He tied it back to what it should be.
No, I agree. I think he's handling it so far that, the appropriate amount of, yes, he's royalty in an extent, but also like he understands that it's a joke thing. Like he's towing that line very well, obviously being with Kofi.
Oh, he's gonna have a lot of fun with it, and Kofi's gonna be like his court gesture kind of deal. And it's just like he's the perfect guy. Forget about the fact that he deserves it, because no one else deserved it more than him. But he's the perfect person to do it, because it's going to be hilarious and it's going to be entertaining and it's going to be exciting.
And where do you go with the other guy, like Finn Balor? What do you do with King Balor? Where does he go from? You know what I mean? There's not.
You can't really do anything with him. You're right.
Nothing that excites me about that, because he already has, like, if you need him to do something different, he has the demon thing. You know what I mean? Like, he already has his thing. Let Woods have a thing. I'm so glad they just let him, the guy who people wanted to win, who had a nice backstory, they let him win. If they just did this more, people wouldn't bitch as much about their product.
Well, and that's just it. That's what I was saying. Like, it almost seems like they're finally really listening. We've been saying it for so long, and this is what AEW's been doing that's a key element. And I'm not saying it has to be that all the time, but when it's all the time the other way, that's a problem. She was rooting for Finn.
You're screwed over in your hometown. Your parents are there and you lose your match, and it's every single time. It's shitty. So now, at least there's a question mark where, hey, the last couple people won in their hometown. Is this next superstar? Are they going to win? Are they going to lose? Maybe there's a little bit more excitement to it, because in years past, when we would review something, we'd even say, "Oh, Bailey's going to be wrestling in her hometown. She's going to lose."
She's going to lose. Right. It's true.
Like clockwork. So yeah, no, it's great that they're
all
in Canada. Okay.
And King Woods, first of all, after he got his crown and all this stuff on at the Saudi show, he said, "This is for Breeze." He shouted out Breeze.
Yep.
And then he said something weird. He goes, "I'm the king. I can say whatever I want." And he said, "Steak burritos are terrible." And I'm like, "Oh, come on. How are you going to say that about steak burritos?" But I mean, he's the king. So, I mean, I guess I can't dispute the king.
But that's what I mean. He's going to be fun and goofy and serious all at the same time when he has to be.
He's going to imagine there's going to be a scroll. There's got to be a long scroll that Kofi reads or something off of. I mean, come on.
And he's going to. Mm-hmm. And he's going to go in and out of accent, similar to what Zelina's doing, which I thought was great. So I couldn't be happier. Two great decisions, two great matches on top of it. I mean, so far we have talked about how many matches, and we haven't really had anything negative to say so far. So what does that tell you? And we're tough, So, I mean, it's hitting on all cylinders. What else did we got after the tournaments?
Big E Drew McIntyre.
Another match that I really like. I love Big E. I love Drew McIntyre. I wasn't really looking forward to the match, and I really deep down couldn't see it ending any other way than it did with Big E being victorious. But again, another great match. Solid it really was solid. It was great. A lot of great spots in that match.
It almost felt like, hey, this is the last pay-per-view before everybody changes brands. Just go out there and have fun. And like they just went out there and wrestled and had fun. It's like that's the whole point of wrestling is to go out. You are at work, but like, God damn it, you're supposed to have fun when you do this shit. Like that's the whole point. So those guys are out there. Aside from the promos, the matches didn't feel like somebody backstage, like some nerd with a pen and a pencil wrote out every move. Sometimes you watch a wrestling match on Raw and you're like, some asshole who's never watched wrestling in their life wrote this matchup, and they're just they're filling in the blanks and following the steps. And these matches seemed a lot more, relaxed. It feels like the guy, the people wrestling the matches had more control over what was going on in the matches. And the finish with the super big, what are they calling it? A super big ending?
Yep.
Oh, when they did that, that's another one where those two guys are so big and burly. You cringe when they come off that rope and that landing. You're like, oh my God, are they actually okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it couldn't have been done any better.
No, that was, it was, and again, nobody was hurt. There was a safe landing, but just like it's what you want to see. And that was what Big E was talking about on the New Day podcast. Big men wrestling, like two big men, what do they say, meaty men slapping meat. That's like his phrase now. And that's what it was. It was like an old school, just kind of, I don't want to say like a Southern wrestling kind of thing, but it was like just two big guys slugging it out. And at the end of the day, for wrestling, isn't that what you pay to see? Just two big guys slugging it out?
But you know what? You just hit the nail right on the head. For the first time in a while, because I know we were talking about this is one of the better pay-per-views. This didn't feel like a sports entertainment show. Right. This felt like wrestling.
It felt like a wrestling show. Exactly. 100%. 100%.
And
well
that's
played.
A big mark that we don't, I hate to use the word mark, but that's like a big thing that we don't really get anymore when it has to come to the WWE.
Right. So, I mean, hey, no so far, no big complaints.
What else we got?
Oh, Becky, Bianca, Sasha.
Another home run.
Holy
that match
shit.
was fantastic. And the finish was great. I wasn't mad at the end. I was like, all right. Like, you know what I mean? It was just another great match. It was just, those three can go. And it was just fun to watch. Another fun match to watch. There were some great spots. And it just, every time I get blown away more and more by Bianca and her power. I mean, she's got some strength, man, and she's just a powerhouse. She's going to get the belt back eventually, but that match was well done.
I wonder if she practices all that bench pressing on Montez, because I think some of the women way more than he does, but
it's possible.
She could. I think she could definitely bench press Montez Ford. That's for sure. Yeah, man. I hate to be a broken record, but you put three really good wrestlers out there and you gave them 20 minutes and you just let them have a good match. That's what fans want. This is what we've been asking for a long time. And maybe it just took Becky coming back, so they're focusing more on it now. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if AEW all of a sudden.
It's AEW. It's AEW. That's what made the difference. It's the competition. It's the same thing that when WCW started to become competition, and that's when things started to change. Now, and I said it last week, Vince, I'm starting to feel like change is coming for real this time.
I hope so, man. And I think you're right, because not only did WWE do the commercial-free thing to try and interfere with Rampage when SmackDown went to 2.5 hours on Fox Sports 1 a week and a half ago, but tonight on USA Network, NXT 2.0's Halloween Havoc, the first half hour is going commercial free again to try and bring in people who maybe haven't watched NXT in a while or don't watch the whole thing, or like they tune out after the first commercial break. So, but it's smart, but it's so interesting to think that like this is a strategy they've had in their back pocket. And the last time I remember them doing it was like 9 or 10 years ago, and KFC paid to make the entire 3-hour Raw commercial free, but it was like they cut to JR and King was like, I got a quadruple bypass, but you should buy some goddamn KFC. And like that was their commercials. It was just built in. They haven't done it in years, and now all of a sudden, because AEW is doing some new and different things, WWE's pulling out their old playbook of what can we do? Can we go commercial free? What can we do to kind of disrupt things? And I don't listen.
Holy shit!
Hey!
Oh my God!
Shit.
What?
Really?
What's up, everybody?
Hey, so Eric is here, everybody. For those
holy
of you
shit!
listening.
Woohoo!
Yeah, this is This is remarkable. How's it going, Eric?
Good. My camera's off because I'm about to drive home. So it's going to take me about 30 minutes to get home. So I figured, why not jump on?
Hey,
welcome back, man. It's good to hear your voice. I'm glad you're here. We're still breaking down Crown Jewel, and your timing is impeccable because we are now at the main event. And I want to say this. So now this is another match. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know what was going to happen. Some of us weren't thrilled about the match because we've seen it quite a number of times, but this time feels different. I think we all agreed. Now, we get to a point where Paul Heyman is going to be the missing link. You know, he's basically going to be the outcome. What's he going to decide to do? So it was very interesting. And then, of course, the promo that he cut backstage right before the match, where they said, you know, basically, what are you going to do? And his response was, I'm walking in with the undisputed world heavyweight champion, Roman Reigns, and I'm walking out with the undisputed world heavyweight champion.
Right.
But then he doesn't say anything else. So he's typical Heyman. So it just keeps you thinking. The match delivered. Those two wrestled the fuck out of each other. That's another one, storytelling. The storytelling was phenomenal in that match. The match delivered. I thought it was well done. The finish was great. With Heyman throwing it in the middle, you don't know which way it's going to go. He still walks out with Roman. Brock didn't win, which I was okay with because I wanted to see Roman continue. And then it led to what happened on SmackDown, which we'll get to. But holy shit, another match that delivered. What do you guys think?
I thought it was a classic. It was classic Roman Reigns storyline with the Usos and everything, interfering and everything. But again, the pivotal moment when Charlie Robinson got knocked out and just Paul throws the belt into the ring in between the two of them and says, you know what you have to do. Who are you talking to? So
I was going to say, Kat, that was my favorite moment because it's Paul Heyman has to play both sides of the fence here.
Of course.
Both of these guys can kill him at any moment. Like they could just decide to he's broken in half. So
and you have to remember too, with Heyman, all he cares about is that he walks out with the champion.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day,
throwing it in the middle is such a
Heyman move.
Heyman thing to do. Yep.
Yeah, it is the ultimate Heyman move of just here, somebody do something.
Who did he throw it to? Mine.
Well,
like watching my kids in kindergarten.
Do you guys remember that called back to their first WrestleMania?
Yep.
The closing shot of Raw was them tug of war on the title.
Tug of war.
And everybody made fun of it because they're like, why would you end the Raw this way? And they're fighting over the title like two kids playing tug of war. But this time, like it actually made sense. They called back to something that was silly, but in the context of that match, actually made sense.
100% worked. It was well done.
So overall, I'm going to say for me that if I have to go on a scale of 1 to 10 for this pay-per-view, and I have not been able to say this about a WWE pay-per-view in a very, 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 very long time, I would have to give it a 9 out of 10. Wow. That's a 9 out of 10.
I ranked it between a 7 and an 8, but
hey, Eric, do you have your windows open?
No, but if this is too much for you guys, I can just
No, you're good. It's just there was like it sounds like wind blowing, like the windows are open, that's all.
No, it's just the highway.
Oh, it's probably tires on the highway. Eric, so I know you kind of came in as we were talking about the last match, but overall, what are your thoughts on either the main event there of Brock versus Roman, or what did you think about, I don't know how much of you saw of Crown Jewel, but what did you think?
Well, it's funny now that you mentioned the main event and like the whole thing with what Heyman was thinking. It reminded me of something when I was at Katz a couple weeks ago. We were watching the '89 Rumble. And one of the matches was for the King. It was Harley Race versus Haku. Bobby Heenan was in both guys' corners. And much like Heyman, he was going to walk away with whoever was the King. So it's very similar.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that's cool because Heyman pretty much now is the modern day Bobby Heenan. He's the only guy that has that kind of longevity.
The only and personality too. Like overall, those two are like mirrors of each other in terms of how they act.
Yeah, we were trying to introduce the kids to real wrestling, so we went back old school.
Nice.
Yeah, Alex didn't really take to it exactly, but Autumn thought it was cool.
Yep, Alex wanted pyros. That's what he kept saying. Where's the pyros? They didn't have pyros. They weren't even invented back then, I don't think, sweetheart. Sorry, no Titantrons.
Yeah, and he was asking for like the where's the music during the every time someone comes out.
But then when Haku came in, he said, "Where's Jerry Lawler?" Because it's the same music.
The same music, the royal music. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yep.
Good catch.
I thought overall, I think it an 8.
Say it again.
Yeah, you got cut out.
I give it an 8.
Wow.
That's high for Eric. 8 out of 10. That's a high mark.
He might be the pickiest out of all of us. For him to get
I agree. Yep.
Well, that tells you a lot.
Yeah. And, Eric, what did you think of the women's match?
I mean, shit. And oh yeah, that was cool. You know, there's that whole thing. Like, so did you guys get into the whole thing with Charlotte yet, or will this lead?
No, we haven't gotten into that yet.
We haven't touched SmackDown or Raw yet. We've done solely Crown Jewel this whole time.
Wow.
But actually, next, I mean, what's going to be the SmackDown season premiere?
We'll get into that. So you know what if what you're going to say ties into the Charlotte Becky thing. Let's get into it. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So, I mean, let's just like go right into that. I mean, you know, because that's like the top of the town right now for the women's division.
All right, well, fine. So let's go into that. I mean, let's be honest. Do we honestly think this is like real, or is it a work?
I feel like
because I went back and I watched it again.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seemed like it seemed like it could be a work. I mean, those two used to be really good friends, so I feel like I'm screaming.
You don't sound like you're screaming.
You're good. You're good.
Might be my headphones.
Yeah.
I'm on the fence about this, but honestly, I know I'm the odd one out when I say this. I'm kind of Team Charlotte on this one.
It's so weird to try and, you know, I'm not necessarily going to take a side on it. I just understand how both people look. Like Charlotte, the way that they've treated her entire WWE career has been
How could she be upset at all about how they treat her?
Right. So when she gets to this point of there's something that she disagrees with that she thinks makes her look weak, she disagrees with it, and they say, no, we have to go stick to the script. In her head, she's like, well, wait a minute. You guys have always done this for me where I've changed, you know, we've changed things around to make me look strong, and now all of a sudden I'm in a position to look weak. And then she does something about it on TV.
See, here's why I'm taking it a little bit differently, though. If she was willing to drop to Bianca on Monday and they said no, how is that in the position of making her look weak if she loses the title? Swapping the belt is what makes her look weak, not dropping swapping, not dropping.
Yes. This is the weird thing is the title exchange. Apparently Charlotte, the way that she was looking at the title exchange happening, the way that it was booked, she believed it made her look weak, and that Charlotte had even offered the Monday before when she was wrestling Bianca, she offered to put Bianca over for the title, and WWE said, no, we want you to retain. Becky's going to retain. We're going to do the title swap on SmackDown to lead to whatever. But the comment that Tara made is right. Andrade got into it on Twitter a little bit, commenting some things about FU WWE. Oh my God, craziness. So,
but that's why I kind of have to agree with Charlotte, because belt swaps, who gives a shit?
Yeah,
you know.
No, I don't disagree.
That I wanted to get into the whole where I agree with Charlotte here is like the belt swap. Just like you said, Kat, the belt swap is fucking stupid. that I think doesn't. It's not so much that it makes the champion looks weak, but it makes the belt look weak. You know, it's like a toy. No, we'll just trade. You know, it's like I don't really like that.
I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence because, like, part of me is like, I don't necessarily think it devalues the belts because at the end of the day, you got drafted. It's not like you wanted to jump ship, so you're still the champ. Now you just have to wear the other belt, kind of thing. But on the other hand, I'm like, it is fucking stupid either way. It's like at that point, champions should not be involved in the draft. Champions should have to stay on whatever brand they are and call it a day.
If they're just going to get the other show's belt when they switch over, yeah. And plus there's that old school, like we're old school wrestling fans. If you're, I know it's different going from brand to brand, but even though they've even done this in the past, when you leave the brand, you put somebody over. I mean, Drew put over Big E. Seth put over. So here's the thing that was kind of infuriating me. Seth put over Edge and lost that Hell in a Cell match, and now all of a sudden Seth is again. This always happens with him. He loses a big match, and then he's number one contender when he gets traded to the other brand. So he did the right thing. He put Edge over, but now he's like number one contender already. Like I think that's a little soon. But Drew put over Big E and then went to SmackDown. So like they did some of this where somebody was leaving and it was their time to do business and put over the person who's going to be essentially replacing them on the show. Yeah. And then they don't do it with the women and they just decide to do the response to the tag team swap last year was so bad. I didn't think they would ever consider doing it again.
Right.
And it just blows my mind that they thought. I don't know who would ever think that was a good idea.
Kevin Dunn.
Somebody apparently thought it was a good idea, but I just.
But here's the thing. So now, whether it's a real feud or whatever this feud is, now they're both on different brands with different belts. So there's nothing you can do except like a Survivor Series.
No, because now they're saying that there's women in the locker room that are siding with Becky for standing up to Charlotte, and now they don't want to work with Charlotte. So now people don't even want to work with Charlotte. So now there's like drama behind the scenes. You know,
it's a bunch of women. What do you expect? Of course, there's going to be drama. And coming from a woman, I can say that. You never put a bunch of women in a locker room. That's exactly what happens.
But it's so funny to see that most people are on this team are to be Team Becky and Team Charlotte. A lot of people are Team Becky backstage. But I think it's because they've been working. You know, imagine you're working at WWE and you're a female wrestler and Charlotte's winning 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 titles. And you're wrestling 2-minute matches against Doudrop. And
imagine that you've been on maternity leave and you had a baby in December and you come and squash the champion in 26 seconds.
Yeah. I know that was.
But
that wasn't Becky's. Somebody made a bad decision.
It wasn't her decision. And at the end of the day. I didn't say
it was her decision, but somebody made a bad decision to make the two of them swap. What the hell?
And at the end of the day, when it comes to that situation, they were trying to get Becky over as a heel. So the best way to do it is to screw over the one that everyone loves in a squash. How would it look if they went toe-to-toe and then Becky went over? It kind of weakens Bianca. Bianca was at the height. So this was the only way to do it. The problem is they put themselves in a situation that they shouldn't have ever been in the first place. I'll give you that.
Right.
But because they went into it, well... that's my opinion.
I think it made Becky. I think it didn't do Becky any justice or Bianca any justice what they did at SummerSlam.
They got Becky over as a heel. They booed her out of the building. That was the plan.
Becky Lynch is always a heel for 15 seconds. It was the same thing last year, a couple of years ago with Charlotte Flair. Everyone again is back to cheering Becky. Nobody's booing her.
All right, that's fair. I can't argue that. That's true.
She's what is it? 15 seconds of fame. She's 15 seconds a heel. That's all about as much as it lasts.
Okay, here's my thing. I just wanted to say this because it reminded me of something else regarding Charlotte and Becky and all that. If they knew that Becky was coming back, especially if they knew that Sasha wasn't going to be cleared for SummerSlam, and they knew a week or so in advance, whatever. And then they did that whole thing with Becky coming back. And if they also knew in advance that Becky was going to end up on Raw and Charlotte was going to end up on SmackDown, then they should have just had Flair keep her SmackDown title, and then, or keep her Raw title, and then I don't know, like just have Becky come back and win the Raw title, Raw Women's title.
There were different ways to do it, but they chose like the most complicated way,
which is typical. But
they could have done 2 belts. Big, you know.
I will say this, and we got like 10 minutes left, so we got to kind of jump through. But I want to say that overall, I was very happy with both the season premiere of SmackDown and Raw. I thought they both delivered. You're seeing a lot of young talent now that they're focusing on, and I said it last week. We got even more this week. So I'm very excited to see what they're going to do. I wish they would have changed T-Bar's name, but he put on a hell of a show. I don't necessarily agree with Damian Priest going heel. That kind of came out of nowhere, the new entrance, but whatever. But back to SmackDown.
I loved that.
But back to SmackDown. I want to say this. I also loved the open. Great promo with Roman, with Heyman, and then the Beast showing up and destroying him. They gave that segment 30 minutes by the time Pierce got his second F5. But now he's suspended and he's gone for a little while, which is a great way to get him off TV. But that was a great way to start the show.
Yeah, that was a great promo. And sorry, Adam Pearce, Shane Helms, everyone else that got destroyed.
But I mean, that's why you tune in for.
Of course,
for that.
No, but Adam Pearce being in the ring, saying he's suspended, no music from Brock, just that slow walk out there. Like, excuse me, what did you just say? That was fantastic. It was a great spot.
Remember when he ripped the car door off and then threw it, and it almost like killed a person in the audience because he's so strong he could throw a whole car door.
Yeah, he's a fucking beast.
I love that he gets suspended, and that's like his out.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
But that's his out. Like he can always just come in, kill a bunch of people, and then they go, "You're suspended because you're too violent," and then you keep him under wraps for a little while, and then when
he doesn't have Paul Heyman to control him,
right? Yeah, and then when the time is right, they're going to unleash the beast again. And, you know, we go down, you know, whichever his next opponent is going to be, whether it's Roman or whoever.
So listen, due to time constraints, because we are reaching the very top of the hour here, what was something that we want to like most definitely address between SmackDown and Raw on these premieres? Again, we got a lot of new talent. Hit Row came out. They dominated the young group. I see great things out of them. Austin Theory continues to do his thing. I'm very happy. Again, young talent. Now they're starting to see we can't rely on that 40-plus age. We got to go with our young talent and start to build them. And we're finally getting it. And I want to thank Tony Khan in advance because he's the reason that this is happening. Because, you know, it's starting. I see it. It's coming. It's happening. We're seeing changes. We're seeing differences. I enjoyed both shows this week. I haven't said that in a long time. Anything you guys want to mention specifically from those shows? Because we got about 7 minutes left.
Well, I know you probably missed it, but one of my favorite parts of Crown Jewel was Riddle coming out on the camel. Oh my God.
Well, you absolutely know we covered that already, and we all agree that was fucking great.
That was the best. That one of the moments of the show. Not Raw or SmackDown, and I'll let Kat give hers in a second, but tonight, NXT 2.0, Halloween Havoc, there is a very good chance that Bronson Steiner, is going to beat Ciampa tonight and be the new champion. Like tonight feels like a night where they're going to change. Like there's a speculation online that all three, there are at least going to be like 3 title changes tonight. So
for the love of God, please don't let it be Mandy Rose's.
But that's the thing. I feel like Mandy Rose.
Mandy Rose is going over. I'm sorry.
Oh, I feel like she's going over because
she's going over.
The 3 of the tag team title match, the women's title match, and the men's title match are all spin the wheel, make the deal.
Right. I know.
So they're going to spin the wheel and some weird shit's going to happen. No, I know, but she's got that whole thing with the 2 other girls.
You know what? You know what would be a really funny nod to WCW is if they had Braun Breaker interact with Chucky like his father did years ago
Well, Chucky's on it tonight.
Yeah, Chucky's. Chucky's
the host.
Yeah.
There's a selection on the wheel called Chucky's Choice. So if it lands on that, Chucky gets to pick the match they have.
I'm sorry,
That
sir.
show
Let
is
me
so good, by the way, if anybody's not watching it.
let's rephrase that. It is not if it lands on it, it's when. Because if that's you already know that's already planned. So but that's going to be cool. I'm always excited for Halloween Havoc, a WCW classic pay-per-view. I'm glad they're using. I wish they would do it on the main roster, but I mean, it's cool. But anything else specific we want to cover from Raw or SmackDown? Kat, go ahead.
I will say from Raw last night, I did enjoy the main event ladder match.
Fantastic.
I think they all put on like a fucking amazing match that actually, to me, at least in my opinion, was a pay-per-view caliber ladder match.
There's nobody that can argue that. I agree 100%. The only thing I will say is I could have done without Seth Rollins being the one that went over.
Yep.
I would have been much happier seeing somebody like Kevin Owens. Like that's who I was kind of rooting for.
He goes out and kills himself in those ladder matches too.
Yeah,
like
he
Kevin
does.
Owens, and I've seen him. Like I saw him a couple of Ring of Honor ladder matches and stuff live, and he's a maniac. Like he just for a guy,
he doesn't give a shit.
He doesn't give a shit. He throws his body around. It's great. It's so great. He's really good at that. And I mean, Seth is really great at the ladder matches too. He's had a lot of good ladder matches and TLC matches.
Do we know if he's confirmed if he's going to renew or not yet?
Kevin Steen's kind of acting like he's not. I mean, wouldn't this have been the place for him to win and get
that's kind of my thinking on why he didn't, because I know Johnny Gargano's contract is up December 2nd.
Oh man, all these guys are going to be elite.
And then Kevin Owens is up January 15th.
There is something in my gut. I don't know why, but there's something in my gut that's telling me Kevin Owens is not going to leave. I don't know why. I think like he's on social media teasing it too much just to fuck with people, and he's going to stay. That's my gut. I could be wrong.
Then here's the surprise with that then, because his contract is actually up, because since they did the pay-per-view listing and everything, it's up prior to the Royal Rumble.
All right, so there's still some time for some action.
Yeah, well, he's got time, and I know they'll probably listen, they already know he's got another option. This is why it's so interesting now, because guys and girls have another option for another big place to go. Not that he's going to be making $1 million there, but Tony Nese just got signed by AEW. Bobby Fish got scooped up by AEW. So
the Inspirations won the women's tag team titles.
Yes, the Inspiration won the Impact.
Congratulations. And Mickey James took out Deonna Purrazzo. Wow. Impact Wrestling. So a lot of big things, and it is a great
This was
time.
A weekend of wrestling.
This is a great time to be a wrestling fan, folks, because not only do you have AEW killing it, you got Impact making some big moves, but you also got WWE that's starting to turn shit up.
Mm-hmm.
So
Inspirations music video, loved it.
Yeah, they look great in that video.
Oh my god.
Fantastic. And their entrance too. She came out and sang with them for the entrance.
Yeah, that was very cool. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of wrestling over the weekend. There's a lot of wrestling coming up on TV this week. Monday night was AEW Dark Elevation.
One more thing. I'm sorry.
Fuego and Cody teaming together, and Cody is Fuego too. So you got to check that on YouTube.
I gotta say this. I'm sorry. I wanted to say this earlier and I forgot. Yeah. And we got about a minute left of the show. We got to wrap. I want to say this. Congratulations to Anthony Green.
Yeah.
For being on Dynamite, getting his ass whooped, but on Dynamite.
I mean, the boys
but
doing
not
it,
only
man.
that, he got saved by CM fucking Punk. And that's just awesome. And I'm
Tony
so
Khan
happy for
liked
him.
From what I can tell, Tony Khan likes AG. So
yeah, it looks that way. And listen, he knows Cody. You know, they know each other.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony's done his thing. He's been around. I'm so fucking happy for him. I hope he gets the contract. Congratulations. That's fucking awesome.
Man. It's always nice to see these local guys come up the right way, man. It's very cool.
Yeah, I mean,
and
known him for a long time, right?
And he's such a good dude. He's such a good dude on a personal level. Such a good dude. I got the honor of working with him on some projects. He actually came on the show. We did some cross promotion back in the day when he was in Northeast Wrestling. So congratulations. It's just awesome to see. And on that, we are at the very, very, very top of the hour. Vince, take us over.
Yes, sir. Eric, I want to thank you for joining us. Please, whenever you feel like
Eric,
coming
welcome back, brother.
in.
Just keep your bumper on your car, sweetheart.
Yeah, as long as you're not getting in any car accidents or anything.
No, I'm definitely I'm getting better. I'm going to be on the show a lot more soon.
Fantastic. That's what I want to hear.
That's what everybody wants to hear. So listen, if you want to hear more Eric, here's how you do it. You follow us on social media at Tag Me a Date. You will go to our YouTube channel, which is if you go to youtube.com, type in Tag Me a Date, no spaces, it's all one word. You will find our YouTube channel where you can subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications when we upload a video or go live. The rest of social media, Twitter, Facebook, Periscope, Instagram, etc. Just, again, look for at Tag Me a Date. Twitch.tv/War Report. That's all one word, WARREPORT. And if you prefer an audio version of the podcast, you can go to your favorite podcast app like Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, or Google Play Podcasts. Look for either The War Report or Tag Me a Date. You'll see our podcast come up. Hit subscribe. You're going to get the last 5 or 6 weeks delivered right into your mobile device or your tablet or wherever you're subscribing to the podcast. You will get the audio version of the podcast about an hour after we go off the air on Tuesday nights. And if you want to tune in live, we're on Periscope, we're on Twitch, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, live streaming this podcast 6 p.m. on Eastern Time every Tuesday. So definitely check us out. Stay subscribed to our YouTube. Stay subscribed to our social medias. We will be back next Tuesday at 6 p.m. for another edition of The War Report. I want to thank you all for listening and hope you have a nice week.